Well, hey, Facebook and beyond. We
Yes,
are thrilled to be here tonight. My name is Tiu Knapp, and I have with me Dr. Michael Gross.
Dr. Michael Gross. How are you, everybody? Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for popping in. We do this every Thursday night at 7. We only take 30 minutes, and we appreciate your time. And we appreciate any questions you may have. Just put them in the comments either on Facebook or YouTube because we're on both. We're streaming live. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce you to Dr. Michael Gross. And here we go, okay? You ready, Michael?
I'm ready. That's me.
Okay. Dr. Michael Gross is a professional keynote speaker, energy, transformational coach, entrepreneur, and the author of The Spiritual Primer, applying God's 12 transformational laws to reawaken your soul by reconnecting to God, the true source, to experience your true source's love, joy, and happiness. He helps you achieve an unlimited life. For over 30 years, Dr. Michael Gross has been a spiritual teacher, multidimensional healer, transformational coach who is exceptionally skilled in all aspects of oversoul, vibrations, frequencies, body timing, life force energies, and more. Dr. Michael Gross holds many degrees, and some include the Doctorate of Alternative Healing Psychology. He's a Reiki Master Teacher, a Thought Field Therapist, Certified Professional Hypnotherapist, and a non-denominational minister. Dr. Michael Gross offers workshops including Reconnecting to God, the True Source, Cellular Release, Manifestation Protocols, Energy Multidimensional Healing, Enlightenment, and many, many others. He's also an international intuitive consultant for corporations and has traveled over half the world. His clients are in the USA, Australia, New Zealand, South America, Asia, and other countries. His messages are now even being heard in the Baltic countries, Sweden, and South Korea. I'm thrilled and honored to have Michael here with us tonight. He joins us every Thursday night, and he has completed his nonprofit formation, the formation of his nonprofit, which is a 501c3. And I'm hoping that he'll have an opportunity at the end of this to share a little bit more about that. And don't forget, he also offers a complimentary consultation. So I'm going to put all his contact information in the comments, okay? So feel free to connect with him. And I'm going to turn this over to you, Michael. Here you go. Why don't you start with the topic at hand, right?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So, we're going to be talking about something very, very fascinating, and we're going to be talking about synergy and you and energy. And this is really important for us to understand that. Before we get started, I was wondering, Tia, do we have any questions or not yet? Okay, you're more than welcome for those who are watching this live to ask if you have any questions. Getting to that point is that, first of all, if I have explained before, but some of you may be new, we are pure energy. And our energy, atoms, particles, molecules, neutrinos, mitochondria, protons, electrons, particles, subatomic structure, and on and on and on and on. All that energy coagulates, means gets runs at a slower energy to form a physical body. If the energy were higher, then you would see a hologram or we would just disappear. And remember the comparison I used: if you slow down your energy, it becomes thicker, it's like an ice cube. And then you put it in a pot and you let it melt and it changes its vibration and energy becomes a liquid. Then you add energy to it in form of heat, it begins to boil and then it turns into steam and disappears. So our energy is very dense because it has to be dense to have this physical body. But how do we maintain the body? Well, at the human level, the food we eat. And the food we eat is the fuel, like gasoline or diesel or whatever your vehicle runs on. And it powers us. And without that food, we would begin to take off weight and eventually it would cause our demise. But there's something else that's more important, or perhaps that you might think is just as important. And that's the energy that comes from what I call the true source. You would call it vibrations and frequencies. And that's so important of the vibrations and frequencies. Well, really, These vibrations and frequency have a sound, a color, and a vibration. And there's something within you called your body timing. And if your timing is off, why then you begin to be clumsy, drop things, and even can cause you to fall asleep, or maybe even cause more serious illnesses. You are a very complex machine or entity that has so many facets to it. And of course, you have your organs protecting you, working with you, your blood is pumping. All these things are going on. And all these things are pure energy. Now, what's even more important that we realize we're pure energy, I'd like to address two factors. One factor, how do we energize our body? What causes our body to energize? And the other factor, how do we make our bodies more enjoyable, more happy, and service us? Yes to you.
Excuse me for interrupting, but we do have a question when you're ready, okay?
All right, go ahead.
Okay. Krista is asking, she's wondering if you could talk about the big shift that's happening. Is it a new Earth that is breaking off from this one? Or is that why so many people are birthing out? And how do we get to the new Earth? So maybe that could come into your conversation, okay?
Yes. Therefore, as I was addressing within our energy, one of the most important factors of the energy is our vibrations and frequencies. Well, what feeds our vibrations and frequencies? And that we are 24/7 connected to what I call the true source. And the true source is beaming us an energy called love, as a frequency and energy and a color. And this love energy, for lack of other words, because whatever you want to call it, energy, I call love energy, is the part that powers your body. It feeds your cells. Now, your cells are fed in two different ways. One, by the food you eat, actually three ways, by your emotions, and the true source is unconditional love. Well, we all know that if we don't eat, we'll get sick and our immune system will kick in and we'll fall apart. We know that. So we have to give energy, which is food. Then we have to remember the other part is our emotions or feelings can affect us. If you're depressed, you'll eat or you won't eat, or that you'll become very despondent. You'll lose food, you lose energy, you lose sleep, you become sick, and so on and so forth. And your body becomes vulnerable. And the last part, of course, to me, the most important energy is true source of unconditional love, that is so powerful. So here you got three different kinds of fuels, figuratively speaking. You have emotions, you have fuel called food, and you also have another fuel called the true source of unconditional love. All three ingredients are working individually but simultaneously. One working with the other, working with the other, working the other to produce this body. And as it produces this body, what makes us susceptible? There's another vibration and frequency that makes us susceptible, and that is people around us, the energy around us. Now, I love thunder and lightning. Some people don't; they get really frightening. They get frightened. What happens? They jump. They want to hide or run. They're very nervous. What do? They start burning up a lot of energy out of fear or anxiety, and at the same time, they're not eating any food to replace it. The energy from the true source of unconditional love gets short circuited because of the fear and doubt that's going on in their mind. Everything slows down, gets stuck in a funnel, and stops, or goes at a dribble. The reason I'm explaining all this is, and it's an oversimplification, because you're a complex machine. Just think about your brain. They will never, ever, ever produce a computer that can duplicate the brain, because the brain goes at such a high speed and performs things that it's pre-programmed to perform. You don't say inhale, exhale. You go heart beat, 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 beat. You don't go eyes open, close, open, close, open, close, and blink. Everything is done. And your hearing. Of course, you can clog up your hearing a little bit with your thoughts or not clean your ears. have waxen ears. And my father said, well, we got to clean the potatoes out of your ears. Anybody remember that one when you were a kid? Things like that. But also, when a person's hearing becomes diminished, why? The energy. What's with the energy? They don't like hearing what they're hearing. That's why they lose their hearing. And so there was my mother-in-law married this other man. They were both in their late 70s. She was yada yada all day long, in his face, in his face, in his face. Why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? Why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? And his hearing began to diminish, and he couldn't hear her. So he was happy. And then he had to get hearing aids, but he would turn off the hearing aids because he got tired of all this yapping at him. Isn't it amazing how the body works? Just amazing. And then you have two kinds of heart pain. You have a heart pain, which is physiological. You may have a heart attack, overwork, or whatever. Then you have heart pain, which is an emotional pain. And a lot of people say, my heart hurts me, but your heart's fine. It's the emotion that they feel. All these things play a factor into our life. And as they play a factor into our life, we have to understand, what do we want to accept in our life? What do we want to be part of in our life? And what do we want to omit or stop or block from coming into our life? So let's start again. What makes you happy? What makes your heart sing? I've used that one occasionally. That's one of the most important things. And the other important items, to surround yourself with beautiful people and people that are positive and loving and caring and speak the truth. Now, the reason I'm going into such depth right now is because what's going on Mother Earth right now? Chaos and uncertainty, anger, frustration. All these things are going on. And because they're going on, it's creating a lot of fear. And in creating a lot of fear, it creates a lot of blocks and anxiety and insecurities. And then we begin to do it. And then we get nervous. And then we get a lack of sleep, lack of energy, so on and so forth. That's why I'm addressing it this time. Because at this time, you are being asked by your soul to meditate, to do your mission and goals, and really to be in alignment with the true sources of unconditional love. I'll just want to briefly address that. It has nothing to do with religiosity. Nothing thing. Well, it has to do with realizing that you are here for a purpose. You have a very special purpose. You are very special. You are the solution and you can make a difference. How do I line myself up with things that are love and joy and happiness? Well, we have one crew, and I know some of my clients tell me about, all they want to do is vacation and party, do gummy bears and smoke, vape, I guess is the word, drink, and microdosing as well. What's microdosing? And that's taking the mushroom in small amounts, which makes you relax. Now, all those things give you a brief respite from all these things that are going on in your life. What happens when you stop drinking? Taking the gummy bears. You start taking microdosing. Bing, 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 bing. Reality affects you. How do you get yourself in harmony and balance? Well, the most simple thing is, number one, when you're upset, physiologically walking helps you feel a lot better, being outside. But more importantly, the only thing that's really works 100% of the time is meditation. That is so important. So how do you meditate, Michael? Well, that's a very good question. There are all kinds of courses out there, transcendental meditation, yada, 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 yada. I always like things to be a lot easier and simpler. So what the true source has taught me is called the breath of enlightenment. Well, what does that really do? Glad you asked that question. When you're doing the breath of enlightenment, believe it or not, it will eventually open up your third eye. It's a certain breathing technique that adds longevity to your life. But more importantly, it's working with your soul to help heal whatever your soul desires needs to be healed. You may say it's my left elbow, but really, maybe it's your depression and anxiety. It will work on that. You won't even be aware. So don't even try to find out. All you'll know is, I've been doing this for a month and I feel so great. That's all you'll know. And that's good enough. And the reason I say that is there's so many people that are analogical, which the word is analytical and logical. Well, what does that mean? They have to analyze every gosh darn thing, and then they always end up with maybe it's not right. First, I still feel great. It's wonderful. Well, is it really working? Not working? Is it my imagination? And all this plethora over and over again and go, my gosh, stop it. You're feeling good. You're feeling better. Who cares? And the reason I say that, stop looking for proof because that's the ego. And the analogy is when you get in a car, close the door, turn the key, or push a button. What happens? Electrical current goes from the battery, goes into the spark plugs. The spark plugs heat up. Then the engine starts to turn on. Gas begins to flow through the gas. Oil lubricates. As the gas hits the spark plugs that are now bright red, causes an explosion. There's something called a piston, goes up and down, makes it work, and put the transmission into drive or first gear, whatever it is, and engages the disc and begins the car to move forward. That's a lot of information. What do? Push the button, turn the key, rum, you're off on the road. So that's what I'm trying to say. Stop being analytical and logical. All right, just know it works and it works. That's the easiest thing in our life. And this is what you're all being asked to do. You're all being asked to let go of all the fears and doubts, analytical and logical things, and just know everything's going to work out. But, big but, if you're going to turn around and doubt and block whatever you think you create, whatever you create, you experience. Hello. In other words, you're creating all your experiences. Well, why? To punish you? Heck no, to empower you. But I'd like to get back to the breath of enlightenment. And doing the breath of enlightenment, you inhale dream, hold it, exhale heaven. Heaven. And 108 times. Get yourself some molly beads, get 108 pennies, whatever you want to get. And take each penny or each molly bead as you dream, inhale, dream, and exhale heaven. That's one. Take the next one, the next one, and the next one till you complete the whole circle. Okay. If you will do this once a day, if not twice a day, you will find in a short period of time you feel better, you have more energy, but also your body will be healing. So if you have more energy, there's something going on in your body right now, raising your vibrations, giving it new energy, new fuel. Something's going on, and you don't have to know what it is, except that it works. And that's so important. Now, I admit there are people that are very inquisitive, so I gave you a brief explanation. That's all you really should focus on. Focus on healing yourself, your mission and goals, and what pleases you. This energy now is being interrupted. It's being interrupted by fear and doubt and anxiety. Now, you may not be that way, but those around you. And so we have a symbiotic relationship. We have something external, means something outside of you, that is sending energy to you, either intentionally or unintentionally, that's throwing off your vibrations, frequencies, your belief systems, and your energies. I said that. And also your body timing. It throws it all off. Well, throwing it all off, how does it affect you? Lack of sleep, anxiety, frustration, despair, aches and pains, depression, feeling lost, unaccepted, etc., etc., etc. And then we're always making things up in our ego. Oh, Jane or John Doe didn't call me. I must have said something. I must have done something to offend them. Maybe I should have called them. Maybe they're mad at me. You go all these emanations. You get upset. You get uptight. They call and say, "Hi, how are you? I just came back from vacation. I've been gone 3 weeks. I'm so happy to talk to you." Oh, that's why they haven't talked to me or responded to me. Aren't we good at making things up? The most important thing is you are not here to suffer. You are not here to fall into a rabbit hole. You are not here to starve and be homeless, unless you want to create it, because you have that power. See how powerful you are? you can create anything in your life. And the energy on this planet, we're worried about inflation, worried about our government, we're worried about taxes, worrying about our freedoms. You got everybody protesting this and that and so on. Nobody's looking at the big picture. Nobody's saying, what is the big picture? How do we turn chaos into honey? How do we change this? By protesting, you're adding more negative energy. By screaming and yelling, you're adding more negative energy. All these things are happening. So, as the true source and other souls that have crossed over said, Michael, speak your piece, tell the truth, and tell them what they need to do. So, in this part, inhale, dream, exhale, heaven. And it's called the breath of enlightenment. 108 times. Why 108 times? Very simple. Numerology 1 plus 0 is 1, plus 8 is 9. Reduce 108 into a simple digit, 9. 9 is completion, ending. There you go. That's why that was chosen. I would advocate all of you to do this. It is so very important. It's more important than eating. It's more important than going to work or dancing or whatever your particular thing you love to do. How long will it take you? Well, it'll take you about 15, 20 minutes, maybe 10 or 15. I don't know. And then you get into a rhythm. It only takes you 3 to 5 minutes. But if I told you, if you do this, you are going to get Starbucks latte of any choice if you want, and a Starbucks sweet roll or whatever. Every morning that you do this, not only would you do it, you'd make time to stop at Starbucks and pick up your order because you're getting something. You have an incentive. Here's your incentive: life, healing, joy, happiness, prosperity, and your intuitive ability to make you walk and go in the right direction. That's the benefits. Pretty gosh darn powerful. So I'd like you all to think about it. And then I was asked about the new earth, so I have not forgotten. I have heard this for over 3 decades. Yeah, I've heard it over and over and again, so many times. And I kind of blew it off. But I will tell you, I've always had visions of 2 moons and 2 suns. Well, at least for the last 3 decades, I've had the visions. And I firmly believe that we will have the possibility to go into the new earth. I don't know at the lifetime, in my lifetime, although I believe I will see it and be part of it. But I can't tell you it's tomorrow morning or 50 or 100 years. The reason I can is because enough of the mass consciousness on this planet has to make a shift. And of course, this shift is out of anger, fear, doubt, insecurity, hate, judgmentalness. All that has to change. So we've got 8.5 billion people. Stop for a moment and think about this. If we get 1% of the population of 8 billion, 8.5, whatever it billion, it's a hunter's monkey. 1 gets 2, 2 gets 4, 4 gets 8, so on and so forth. So you have the expanding factor, expanding exponentially. My goal is to get 1% to awaken. And eventually we'll reach a number that will be high enough that we can make a shift. And that is beautiful. But I'd like to remind you something that I once talked about before, and that is something very important. And that was August of 22 through April 30th of 23. I have to think for a moment. You had to make a decision to become more spiritual. Now, you don't have to be like myself or to you. Just get out of religiosity. That's one kind of spirituality, into true spirituality. And if you do, there'll be major shifts in your life. I said, well, that's really great. So, but we're all spiritual. Why don't we all do that? And the answer I got, nope. Ego gets in the way. There's no proof. It's not logical. It doesn't make sense. Yada 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 yada. Now, I'm not knocking religiosity, but you were taught religiosity to go by faith. That's what you are, by interpretation of a leader, which we call a clergy person. right? That's what we do. So what Michael talks about, well, it's not written anywhere, and how do I know? Well, so you got a book telling you something with no really experience of positive proof, and you got Michael or others like me talking about spirituality. Well, spirituality is your own experiences. Then once you experience spirituality, you get hungry for more, hungry more and more, and then you become more and more empowered. So let's look at religiosity as going to grade school. You're learning moral code. Then we go from that code into junior high. You learn a little bit more. You start embracing spirituality. Then when you really get into it, you go into high school. Then you get your associate's degree, and then your baccalaureates, then your master's degree, and then your PhD. If you really go through this, it's challenging. And I asked the True Source, why is spirituality so hard? And the True Source said, you humans, you make a big deal. Yeah, you're right. Anything you find that's fun and exciting goes quickly, rapidly, and easily and effortlessly. And anything you don't is very challenging. Getting back to the new earth, I do believe there'll be an opportunity for us to go into the new earth, a new dimension, a new frequency, a new energy. We all know that there are different dimensions and they all right around us. It's like if you look at a fish in the water, they look at us while we're in a different dimension because they're in the water and it's the only way they can live. Or you look at an ant so busy building, getting food and getting ready and serving the queen, and humans look like they're from another planet. It's kind of that situation. I will tell you that the veil between different dimensions or levels are now getting thinner and thinner, so we'll be talking more and more to the other side. People have been seeing orbs, these different colored orbs. That's part of the other side. Or you're sitting and talking, something goes by you. You feel like, who walked by me? I don't know. But that's the other side, the veil getting thinner. Maybe family, relatives, your angels, guides, guardian angels, whatever, but that's beginning to happen. And we may run a few minutes over, but bear with me. In the very beginning, when we discovered the atomic bomb, we were not to discover for many years later. The reason was because we're supposed to use it for good purposes. Well, we all know what happened. And there's something called the Galactic Federation. And the Galactic Federation oversees the solar system. Just like Star Trek, they had non-interference. That's what it was. They could not interfere unless we're going to destroy this planet. If we destroyed this planet, then everything has such a delicate balance. It would throw all the planets out of order. And not only in this solar system, but throughout the universe. So it's a delicate, like a domino theory. Therefore, they could not interfere unless we're going to destroy the earth. And then we are expendable. Our bodies are. Our souls forever and ever and ever and ever. But getting back to that, here's an example. The planet Mars is known as the planet of war. And, fables and so on. So really what happened? They were warlike. They got into a big war. And the inhabitants, we'll call them the Martians, left the planet. And they went to Atlantis. That's another story I'll explain later. But even though we thought that was a fable, we set up one of the satellites. They looked at the planet and noticed that it had a thin layer of glass. Well, as we know, sand, silicon, does turn into glass under heat. And the scientists theorized there must have been some kind of war or something that happened that caused a nuclear explosion or something like that above the planet that created the glass. So there's a case where they were expendable. Some of them left and some of them perished. That's just an example. And getting back to the original story, I know I'm going back and forth. A call went out and said, look, we can't afford Earth to be destroyed. They asked for souls. So it's okay. Who would volunteer? They had souls from different solar systems, souls from different forms, even some who had been here previously. They said, well, we'll go over and start working on the mass consciousness. But we want a special deal. Planet Earth is the third most densest school and planet of the universe. So we don't want any karma. We don't want to get stuck in this wheel of reincarnate. So they said, okay. Souls that never incarnated, others from other solar systems. They all came here. And finally, what do we have during the Vietnam War? They were the kids who said, make love, not war. Work on the mass consciousness. Then we had another level, which were the indigo children, who are worried about our climate and saving the planet. And now those 10 years and under. Well, those who came in under what we call the hippie years and a little before and a little after, they said, we're really tired. We're done with our contract. We did the best we could. We're turning it over. So we want to go back to being our souls and another mission and goal. And so those are the ones that are birthing out. They may contract an illness. They may go to sleep in there and just have a heart attack or whatever. Well, why would you contract an illness? Maybe there's a little karma for you from another planet you had to work out, or just maybe that's an excuse. If I ever say, bye everybody, I'm fun done, my mission goes over, hello, goodbye, I love you all. Oh, you can't leave us, so we would have a guilt trip laid on us. What happens? You'll create an illness. That's why a lot of souls will be living. And there'll be a lot of souls that some other changes that are going on that are not very fair, but we can talk about that later. So therefore, I hope that answers your question. Any other questions there? Everybody stay with us for a few more minutes.
I have a question pertaining to that. You're explaining why so many are birthing out because their missions and goals are over, which is part of the question. But the other part was, how do you get to the new Earth? And is the new Earth breaking off the old Earth, or is that just a totally new dimension or something?
Well, right now, I'll tell you a secret. I am selling tickets right now to the new Earth for $29.95. And not only that, I'm giving a free set of Ginzo knives or a set of high protein bars, whatever you want, just to seduce you into doing it. But
I'll bring my calf.
okay. but in the truth is, your soul will know when it's ready, even though you may not conscious. And all of a sudden you wake up, everything's different. Where am I? Where am I? And you will be on the new Earth. All you have to do is set the intent that you want to go on the new Earth, desire to be there. And then don't kill anybody, shoot anybody, don't steal. Listen to your soul and true inner source guidance, and you'll just automatically go. So you won't miss the bus or the plane or the train. It won't be overcrowded. You'll have plenty of time to get there. I hope that answers her question or his question.
I think it does. That really helps. I was just thinking that means I could ride my bicycle there, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I'd like to thank all of you for joining us. I'll be filling in more information as time goes, but we're going to conclude, so I appreciate you staying with us. Every Tuesday evening, it's called Soul Awakening. It's from 6:30 p.m. Pacific time to 7:30 Pacific time. You have the opportunity to call in, ask any questions that you so desire. Hopefully, I'll be able to answer them. But also at the same time, you're going to listen or have the opportunity to listen to 10-minute motivational little talk. And usually they're 8 to 12 minutes long, but I call it 10 minutes. There are almost 400 of them. And it's really important that you ask those questions, even if you know the answers, but you've forgotten it, or you need to be reminded. It'll be perfect. And the messages will change your life. They are channeled directly from the true source. As these messages, I don't plan them. I don't know what I'm going to say. And the door opens up, figure of speech, and I'm channeling the information. Now, to access that call called Soul Awakening, please give them that telephone number.
Absolutely. It's 202 926-1059. And the access code, Michael?
125446 pound. One more time, please.
Okay, 202-926-1059. And the code, Michael?
125446 pound. And what I call the replay, those 10-minute motivational messages, they're audible. And what you can do is, stuck in traffic, you're angry, you had a fight with someone or whatever, listen to it. It starts at number 3 and goes up almost number 400. But don't worry what it is. When I first did this, I forgot to label what each little message was. True Source said, no, you didn't forget. I didn't want you to. Do you want to read through 400 titles? I don't know about you, but I don't want it anymore. Teach them, share with them to use their intuition. Say, what number do I want to listen? I think 212. Play it for 10 minutes. Go, boy, I just needed to hear that. Or maybe a series of them. This is learning to trust your soul advice and guidance. And to access that information,
that number is 434-300-4170. And the access code, Michael?
125446 pound. Remember, it begins with number 3 and up.
All right, I'll give that number one more time. It's also in the comments. Okay, it's 434-300-4170. And the access code, Michael?
125446 pound. Now there's something else we do which is so dear to my heart. The second Saturday of every month, I do what is called the Mass Consciousness Call. And it starts at Pacific time, 9:55 a.m. and goes to 11:01 a.m. I stick pretty darn close to that, very close, within a minute or less. And the first 4 or 5 minutes, we wait for people to sign in. They get a little late. We chat a little bit, and then we go into a deep meditation. What we do is ask for healing of Mother Earth, the animal, mineral, vegetable kingdom, human kingdom, and everything that exists, the nature spirits, and on and on and on. And you become a conduit for that energy of unconditional love, pouring through your heart chakra, going out and touching everything up on this planet. It will change your life and change your energy and your thoughts. And you'll feel happy and giddy and joyous for the day. And just let it spread through the rest of the month. Access that information.
That number is 202-926-1059. And the access code, Michael?
125446 pound. One more time, please.
Okay, it's the same as the Tuesday night call-in, but that number again is 202-926-1059. And the code, Michael?
125446 pound. I also offer a half an hour complimentary consultation if you haven't spoken to me before. My private cell number is listed, and just call if I'm tied up. Leave me a message, then text me. 2 parts. Leave me a message, then text me, and then I will get back to you. If I see you called, I know I'll be looking for a text. If, however, you text me, I will get to you, but sometimes I don't get a chance to look at my text till midnight. And you may not want to wait that long. So please indulge me and do that. Also, as you go to Dr. Michael B. Gross YouTube, there are audible messages, 10-minute messages, and also this podcast. But also, there are other messages. And as you do that, you will find a beautiful photograph by an outstanding photographer, award-winning Tia Knapp. And there's a quote. And then I'll either go into the subject audibly or you'll see a podcast or whatever I'm talking about. Therefore, I invite all of you, when you do that, push the button subscribe because that gets me a little higher rating as far as who would like to listen to my message. I want to thank you. Well, we're at the end right now, and it's time we talk about these books. And these books, this one's called Healing the Soul, Healing the Holes in Your Soul. There's Tia Knapp. It's by Tia Knapp. It's a beautiful story of survival. It's a story of empowerment, story of rebirth. It's a must read. It's very empowering. I'd like all of you to know that we are sharing our books not to get money or whatever, but we're sharing our books because it will empower you and change your mind. And you will love these books. You can find her book on Amazon, or you can contact her and she will send you a signed copy. This is a must read.
Thank you, Michael. But I highly recommend that everybody start with this one, The Spiritual Primer. This is the second edition. There's some extra good little nuggets in here that weren't in the first one. And the first one's already sold out. So definitely, if you choose to get a signed copy of this, that's the only way right now that you can actually get them, because they're not on Amazon right now. Michael doesn't have them up there yet. So definitely contact Michael to get your copy, your signed personal signed copy of this. And honestly, take him up on that 30-minute complimentary consultation, because you'll be so glad you did. If it wasn't for this book and the amazing author of this book, the gentleman holding my book, the book he's holding wouldn't be in existence. And I wouldn't be doing this kind of a podcast at all. I'd be hiding in the closet somewhere. So truly begin here, because you deserve to feel your best within and get to know your soul, because you are truly a blessing and a gift to the world. Okay. Thank you, Michael, for this and for spending so much time with us.
Thank you, everyone. Join us next week. Go to YouTube, Dr. Michael B. Gross, push the subscribe button. And if you have questions, come with questions, and hopefully I'll be able to answer them. Everyone, take care. Just know you are loved, and you are unlimited. I love you. Namaste.
Namaste. Thank you, everyone.